I went from a complete sewing novice who barely knew how to use a sewing machine, let alone understand a dress pattern, to create a dress like this is remarkable to say the least. But how did I do it? Well, the process involved a little bit more than you might think. The project began with the simple idea to create a Bridgerton dress. But this alone wouldn't have been enough to fulfill the criteria for my final major project. So I began thinking about how I could grow this idea further and incorporate elements that I could use to develop my creative practice. I feel the key to good research is variety. My project was 2/3 research and 1/3 creative practice. And even though this wasn't a 50-50 split, I feel it was important to lean more on the research side because I believe research is the roots in which creativity can grow from. And without them, ideas can't flourish and develop later in the project. Looking around the palace brought all the research to life. The architecture, the ostentatious interiors with the gold and the red and the rich tones was very inspiring when it came to the design process later on in the project. Another exhibition that I visited was at the Chertsey Museum. It was filled with a collection of Regency dresses to admire, as well as lace trims, shoes, bags, hats. There was so much there that it gave me a really good overall picture of the whole Regency look. And it was a complete contrast to what I had seen a few weeks earlier at Brighton Pavilion. My trip to Blenheim Palace was more to see how Regency is portrayed in the modern day in terms of a filming location rather than a place of historical accuracy. Once I had finished my research and my exhibition visits, my project hit a crossroads, and there was two pathways in which I feel my project could go. One was be a really bright and bold and rich sort of evening dress with dark tones, gold, or I could go for a more delicate approach and choose to go more pastel. Once I had a design and a vision in mind, I felt like I could progress further, but getting to that stage was really difficult. The biggest struggle within the design phase was balancing concepts with the availability of fabrics and my skills as a relatively inexperienced sewer. So to help come up with potential ideas, I decided to visit a local fabric shop. I was very much drawn to the colours that I liked. So pinks, there was purples, pastel tones, but tones that weren't really that big in the Regency period, more maybe influenced in modern media in terms of costumes for TV and film, which isn't a problem, but considering that I had done so much research on the history of Regency, it would feel not right to include an element of historical accuracy into my final dress design. I did initially write up in my plan that I would make my toile later on after I had come up with designs, but in order to come up with designs that were realistically possible, I felt it important to get that experience and knowledge in how to make the dress in order to understand how it could be adapted and changed to make the pattern uniquely my own. The reason why I think the design phase was so much of a challenge was because I was thinking of it as separate to my research stage rather than thinking of the two as one. Once I had the marriage between research and creative vision, I was able to come up with designs that felt right. And eventually, after pulling through some different designs, different concepts, I was able to narrow down some fabric choices that I wanted to use in the tones and colours that I felt really reflected the heart and the essence of Regency fashion. This was by far my most favourite part of the whole project. I love working with my hands, and seeing visual progression is very motivating. I decided to use a pre-made pattern for my dress rather than making my own. I'd rather spend the time I would use trying to make a pattern to thinking about how I would adapt the pattern to get the desired look I wanted from my dress design and making that a reality. The dress construction also posed a lot of challenges when it came to using my sewing machine. Understanding the stitch tension, what stitch length to use. The fact I didn't have an overlocker meant I had to use a sealed zigzag stitch on certain parts of the seams so that they would look neat. There was a couple of things that was quite shocking when it came to making the dress. One of those things was the sheer amount of fabric that is used to create one garment. The second thing, which was really sad, is the huge amount of waste that the dress has created. The offcuts of fabric from where I've cut out the pattern, and also the amount of trimmings from cutting down the seams. Seeing the amount on a personal level, there was quite a lot. But then when you think about it on a global scale, you can see how the fashion industry has such a bad environmental impact. The things I found hardest during the project was the design and development, making sure that I had enough variety in my research, and the biggest challenge was linking all the elements of the project together rather than seeing them as separate tasks. The strengths include following a plan, setting goals and targets and meeting them, communication and incorporating feedback, attention to detail. I would say I have quite a strong eye for making sure things are perfect, but that could also go as a weakness because focusing too much on being perfect can actually inhibit creativity rather than enhance creativity. The biggest strength I think I have though is the willingness to try new things. At the start of the project, I had no idea how I was going to achieve this, but with enough research, determination, encouragement, design concepts, it gave me the confidence to know that I can do this. Seeing the project develop and grow from one tiny little idea into this amazing project that has been the culmination of my 2 years of learning at OCAD. The foundation diploma has given me the confidence to explore my creativity, to challenge new concepts, and to see opportunity in everything. Seeing my creative growth from project to project has given me the confidence that even though I might not be experienced in something, I can give it a go and I can produce something that I didn't think was possible at a level of finish that I wasn't sure I could achieve.